Today's video is just about this idea of chasing things in this life and the sort of turmoil that we create in our life trying to chase these things. Whatever it is that we chase in life is going to be something that we start to become attached to and something that we start to become dependent on to sort of have an idea if we are doing good or bad in life. It becomes a crutch a bit to judge who we are, judge how we're doing, and we become dependent on the source. And that can be material stuff, and it can also be a abstract stuff. People go out into the world and seek stuff such as various stuff, cars, houses, money, emotions too. People go out there and search for affection, they search for care, we search for love, and all of these terms mean something which you will become dependent on. If you find one of these things to create in you one of those emotions that is of such a high level that you that it creates a difference into who you are as a person, it creates a difference as to who you see yourself as with or without them, that means that there's an automatic issue. It means that automatically you are dependent on it. And this sort of attachment cannot be healthy because you cannot base your self-image, your self-worth, the idea of who are you based on like, I have this, I have that, I have the other, because those things leave. Those things go. Whether you willingly or unwillingly, they end up leaving, right? And there are such things like actions and there's such a thing as a perspective in life where it cannot be taken away from you. And the purpose of this is just to sort of a call out to ourselves about when we are attached to things in that manner. When we are attached to people and want to be loved by people. When we are attached to objects and stuff and want them to make of us a better image of who we are within society or within just ourselves and everything. But it's to be critical about why we're looking for these things, and you realize that there's no such thing as wanting objects, wanting the material without a reason behind it, and that reason becomes really important. If I want the sports car because it gives me a feeling of power, it gives me a feeling of of higher status and whatsoever. In that sense, I know what I'm chasing, I know what I'm going after, and then I have to really ask myself, is that worth? How worth is that? How important is that for me? How far am I willing to go about these things? And these are questions to ask yourselves. But it has come to my attention that sort of all of these things just they always put you in a state of being miserable. Looking for love from people, right? To search the world and trying to look for love and trying to find it by thinking that we're not worthy of it because we don't have this, that, the other. It doesn't make any sense to go into the world and think that we need somebody to be there, right? And then sort of, I don't know, somewhere or another to fill a void that we have and expect of them to always 24/7 constantly be there for us in that way is not a honest or not a realistic way of living. And at that point we have to realize there are more questions to ask about this exact topic, more things to question and conclusions to get to about the same thing, because we're not at the end of the road at this point. There are other things, and then it's sort of our responsibility to ask, what are they? Why do I need somebody this much? Why this? Why that? What do these words mean? What does love mean? What does all of this stuff mean? Because once you find yourself in these positions, right, that you need this question of need, right? Maybe you realize it or not, but when those things become sort of that crutch, your relationship with them becomes insufferable, because you have these expectations in your head that are created by this need, right? And then you sort of have all this pressure onto this thing, onto this onto this person, or onto this idea, and things can't grow when they have this much pressure on them. And the only healthy way really to allow things to grow in life, and relationships to blossom, and businesses to also have a sort of to give fruit, is to allow them to have the space to grow, right? If I have the ground, it's the perfect ground, right? It's like the perfect ground for stuff to grow, but that I keep laying on this ground, and then I keep applying pressure on it, right? You could picture it. Well, how are things gonna be able to grow if I keep blocking them? And I keep blocking them because I feel like I need this to keep my head above water. But in reality, it's just an illusion. It's the fear that if you let go of this need, if you let go of this relationship, if you let go of this chase for this car, this money, or all this stuff, if you don't get them, you'll feel like you won't be who you want to be. You won't be who you're supposed to be, or you're scared of who you'll be without them. And now that is something that to face. That is a dynamic that we have to sit with, because we have to ask ourselves, well, who would I be? Like, how about we just face that? Because if we face that, then we live in a reality which is accurate in a way. We live in we will have a ground which you can't take away from us. You will live in a place where even if the things come or the things go, you will still have something of your own. You will still have a sense of self which is not attached to those things. And so what has worked for me is always to call myself out, and to look at how bad I strive for certain things, and to be able to realize that this is not how I want that relationship to be. It shouldn't be like this. I do want the desire or whatever, these things, but not in this manner. And when you look at who you become, if you go deep down enough of the chase towards these things, you will see this state of miserability which you're in. And that should be enough to allow you to let it go, whether that's people or stuff, or money or whatever, etc. But it's almost like if you keep chasing these things, right, in this way, while telling yourself that you need them, then you're not really honest with yourself. Because the honesty, to be true to yourself and honest, would be to look at who you are without them and face that and be okay with it, so that you can then have those things as extra in your life, and that they can have the rightful place that you picture them to have. But the negative way, the bad way to go about these things is actually sort of you lying to yourself, because you don't actually need these things. You will survive without them. And so that makes that sort of chase and that sort of longing for these things and etc. sort of all actions to try to fulfill that lie and to keep it alive. But truth doesn't need this much hectic energy. It doesn't need this much work to keep it alive. It just needs for you to let go. There's no sense of image in the truth. And so this whole idea pretty much is how you go into being free from what the world sort of tells you that you need. And so yeah. And an example just to show like the idea that nothing grows under pressure is that even these relationships and this longing for love, for example, that you have and that you put so much pressure on people for, will only result in a relationship where people feel this pressure, and people will feel that this is not they can feel your neediness for them to be a certain way and not who they actually are. And so that becomes that it's not love. It's not all these things that you want. It becomes the only people that will go along with this will be people that need you as much as you need them. And this need thing will make them act in a way that fulfills these things for you, but only as a task so that you stay to them. And so their actions no longer come from a place of appreciation for you, but more of a maintenance for to fill the void that they have, you know. And that is a dynamic that you essentially can become aware of it yourself, and that will become a relationship that you no longer want either, because you realize that it just feels wrong, and all of this stuff becomes you know, a negative experience, to put it like that. So yeah, I hope this helps. And just to sum it up, is just that the things that we strive for in this world, and in a way which makes us needy of them, are never worth chasing, because the result of us approaching them this way only results in a negative experience, and us being miserable, and this dependency that we have towards things to create a sort of an identity of us, and an idea of who we are, is just a lie. And all this work ends up just being maintenance to keep this lie alive. But truth doesn't need this type of work. And in reality, a better way is just to face what we are actually running away from, which is who we would be. Who are we when we don't have that? And that is easy to face because you don't have these things because you're chasing them. So that is some work that we can do right now and free us from all that extra stuff.